Snow fell softly that Christmas Eve, painting the quiet streets of Chicago in white. The air was filled with the scent of cinnamon and roasted chestnuts, laughter echoing from homes where families gathered around glowing trees. But for Michael Turner, a single dad who had lost almost everything 2 years ago, the holiday felt hollow. He walked home from his late shift at the diner, holding a small gift, a teddy bear, for his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, hoping it would bring a bit of joy to their modest Christmas. As he turned the corner, he froze. Under the flickering light of a closed bakery sat a woman and 2 small children, wrapped in thin blankets, trembling from the cold. The woman held a cardboard sign that read, "Hungry, please help, anything for my kids." Michael's heart clenched. The little twins, no older than 4, clung to their mother, their cheeks red from the freezing air. One of them was crying quietly, while the other just stared at the snow, as if trying to understand why the world was so cruel. He hesitated. He didn't have much, barely enough to make ends meet. But something deep inside him told him to stop. "Ma'am," he said gently, kneeling down, "are you okay? Do you have somewhere to go?" The woman looked up, her eyes weary but kind. "We're fine," she lied softly, "just a rough night." Michael noticed her hands trembling as she held her children close. He took a breath, looked down at the small thermos of coffee he carried, and handed it to her. "Here, please, it's warm." The woman hesitated, then accepted it with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "God bless you." Her voice broke something in him. "Come on," he said finally. "You and your kids come with me. I've got some food and heat at home." She shook her head. "No, I couldn't." He cut her off. "It's Christmas Eve. No one should be out here freezing. Please." Minutes later, they were walking through the snow to his small apartment. Lily, his daughter, peeked from behind the curtain when she heard the door. "Dad, who's that?" Michael smiled softly. "Some friends who needed help tonight." When Lily saw the twins, she ran up and offered her favorite stuffed rabbit. "You can have her for tonight," she said shyly. The little girl smiled weakly and hugged the toy. They sat around the small kitchen table while Michael heated up soup. The warmth of the room slowly brought color back to their faces. The woman introduced herself as Sarah, and her children as Ethan and Emma. She explained she had lost her job 2 months ago after the company she worked for went bankrupt. With no family around and rent overdue, she had been evicted 3 days before Christmas. Michael listened silently, his heart breaking. "You should have gone to a shelter," he said softly. Sarah nodded. "I tried, but they were full. We've been moving from place to place since then." He handed her a bowl of soup. "You don't have to worry tonight. You're safe here." That night, while the kids slept under warm blankets, Michael sat by the small window, staring out into the snow. Sarah walked up quietly, a faint smile on her lips. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "I know," he said, glancing at her. "But I wanted to." They talked for hours about life, about loss. Michael shared how his wife had died of cancer when Lily was just 2. How he had struggled, working multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. Sarah listened, tears forming in her eyes. "You're a good man," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "Just a man who's been where you are." The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. The smell of pancakes filled the air as the kids giggled, unwrapping small presents Lily had found under the tree. Michael had nothing fancy to offer, but the laughter in the room made the apartment feel alive again. Sarah watched quietly, her hand resting on her heart. "It's been so long since they've smiled like that," she whispered. Michael turned to her. "Then stay for breakfast, or as long as you need." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I can't take advantage of your kindness." "You're not," he replied. Sometimes people are brought together for a reason. Days turned into weeks. Sarah started helping around the house, cooking, cleaning, even helping Lily with her schoolwork. The twins and Lily became inseparable. The little apartment, once silent and cold, was now full of laughter and warmth. One day, as Michael returned from work, he found Sarah standing by the window, holding a letter. Her hands shook. "What is it?" he asked. She turned slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. "It's from the company I used to work for. They're reopening, and they want me back." Michael's face lit up. "That's amazing, Sarah." She nodded but looked conflicted. "It's in another city." The room fell silent. Michael's heart sank. He didn't want to admit how much she and the kids had come to mean to him. That night, Sarah packed her things. Michael helped quietly, avoiding her eyes. When she finally stood by the door, she turned to him and said softly, "You saved us, Michael. I'll never forget that." He smiled weakly. "You just take care of those kids. That's all I want." She nodded and walked out into the snow. As the door closed, the apartment felt empty again. Lily sat beside him, tears in her eyes. "Dad, will they come back?" He hugged her tightly. "Maybe, sweetheart, maybe." 3 months later, Michael was cleaning tables at the diner when the bell over the door chimed. He looked up and froze. There stood Sarah, holding a small wrapped box, with the twins beside her, grinning ear to ear. "Sarah," he said in disbelief. She smiled through tears. "I couldn't stay away. The city job didn't feel right, because home isn't there, it's here." The twins ran up to hug him, and Michael felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. Sarah handed him the box. Inside was a photo of all of them together from Christmas morning, framed neatly. On the bottom were the words, "Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when no one else does."